let's dive into the hotel thing. What made you get into the hotel side of things?
Yeah, so great. So let me sort of continue my story and tell you what happened and how I transitioned into it. So of course, I failed into flipping houses. But my paradigm in terms of real estate was just residential. I just thought that because nobody had talked to me about commercial, nobody had talked to me about other aspects of real estate. And so for me, when I first got the license flipping houses, I just thought real estate equals houses because we bought our own house back then and we were living in a small house. And so got my license. And 2 weeks into sort of my real estate career, I got this call from my friend who gave my number to this guy who owned a gas station. Right. A lot of folks from India, as you know, right? Our community is big entrepreneurs.
Hello, everybody. This is Sanjay Hegde. And today we are having Mr. Rav Singh on our podcast. And Rav Singh is a seasoned hotel and investment specialist with deep expertise in the mid scale and select service hotel sectors. He serves as the National Hospitality Group Division Leader for KW Commercial Worldwide and has been recognized as a platinum broker by Crexi in 2023. Rav is also the co-founder of Spur Equity, which syndicates investment properties and offers passive returns to investors. So welcome to the podcast, Rav Singh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show, Sanjay.
Always a pleasure. So, Mr. Singh, first of all, I'm very excited that you are on the show because your expertise is in hospitality as well as in multifamily. Mine is more in multifamily
Mhm.
self-storage and things like that, right? This is something new for me to learn, so I'm
Right.
super excited about it. So, tell me a little bit about yourself before we dive into your expertise. So, what made you, where you from? What made you get into the hospitality and
Sure.
so on?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you again for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure meeting new people, and learning from individuals. So I migrated from India. You and I probably have similar backgrounds, different stories. But I was very young back in the high school age. So did my high school, did my college in the U.S. I'm from the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas, Iowa, and uh, got into the architecture and then on the design, and eventually got my degree in BFA in graphic design. And so for the first 15 years of my career, I was a graphic designer. I was working in the creative side of things. I was a art director, then a creative director for some ad agencies and some design firms. Eventually started my own firm. And then my wife and I, after we got married back in 2000, we traveled the world for about a year. Just it was one of those life events. We just newlywed. We wanted to see the world, and so I quit my job. I was art director in a small ad agency in Des Moines, Iowa. And people, including my parents, thought we were crazy, obviously, But we went back to India. This is where our roots are. I was 13, 14 when I first migrated to this country. And then we spent a year there. We learned culture, religion, language, history, traveled, made lots of good friends, spent a year there, worked with some nonprofits there for a couple of months there. And then we migrated, came back to the US, and went back to the job sector again. I was still in the same thing as a creative director, same ad agency. It was just an opening there, and just things worked out. And then about 5 years later after that, we were looking at moving to a bigger metro. We were thinking about maybe family. That's all. This is like 5, 6 years later. And so we decided to move to San Antonio. And even in San Antonio, we had come here to visit a cousin of mine who used to live here. And we came during this time. This is September, October timeframe. It's 75, 80 degrees outside. It was perfect weather. And I didn't ask what generally is the weather in June, July, and nobody told me what's the weather in June, July. And so, we love the weather, loved the area. People were really friendly, felt like a small town, but it was a big metro. So we decided to move next year to San Antonio. So I had my Penske truck with a Honda Accord in the back, and we drove to San Antonio.
Oh,
We
lovely.
drove in. We drove in June, and in June, I think it was 105 degrees when we first landed here, and it was bloody hot, right? It was hot as hell, and but we were here, stayed with my cousin for a couple of months, um, because we didn't have a job. I didn't have a job, my wife didn't have a job, but we were firm believers that if you are educated and if you believe in yourself, you'll be fine. And so that's what happened. We moved here back about 20 years ago in San Antonio, and I was still in the same profession. I was a brand manager for uh, um, a defense contractor, did some work for them, positioned them for sale because they wanted to sell to a bigger company. And then I got the bug of just wanted to flip some houses. And so started talking to my wife and said, okay, look, I'll keep on doing what I'm doing, but let's go ahead and flip some houses, because back then this is when all the programs out there on TV were showing how easy it is to buy a house, flip it, make some money, right? And so
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've seen those shows.
Well, been
Um,
there, done that.
You've been there, done that, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do, and something that our parents have probably taught us is that education is key, right? Your knowledge
Absolutely.
base has to start. Your foundation is your education. So for me, in order for me to understand the real estate market, I just took some classes. I went and took some real estate classes, not with the intention of getting a license so that I can work for others, but just so that I can buy houses for myself. So got the
Got it.
license. This is 2004 timeframe, 2004, 2005 timeframe, and uh, then I started looking at houses, started putting contracts on some of the houses, and every time I would put a contract, learning about the after repair values and all this stuff, Californians were coming and paying all cash and just beating me to the punch, right? And I
Yeah.
wasn't able to do anything, but I learned the process. I learned about real estate, and that's how my journey started into the real estate side of things. Of course, there's a lot more details into it, but moved here in San Antonio about 20 years ago. My wife's elementary teacher. She is great at her profession, what she does. I feel like if you're a teacher, you're there to give, right? That's how,
Yeah.
and so for her, real estate or money is a secondary thing. Her focus is kids. We have three kids. I have two kids in high school and one kid in college at this point.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Yeah, very similar to my story to a little bit, but you've been here longer than I have. I came here in 2001, February 21st, 2001. Um, Again, similar kind of a story. I had a W-2 as well, but then,
Okay.
with a lot of travel involved and so on. And, my son got into an accident when he was in high school. Nothing happened to him, but that was the time when I was in Japan, and that was my aha
Okay.
moment that I wanted to do something on my
Right.
own, and
Right.
that's what was my transition. Of course, my son now is out of college, and he's looking for his own career right now. Wife is a nurse,
Okay.
so yeah, something about teachers, nurses, doctors, military personnel, police. They have a giving nature. It's not about
That's
money
right.
for them, right?
That's right.
It's all
That's right.
about doing what is right for the community, kind of a thing. But at the same time, we do the same thing for the community as well, right? We build different, like for example, multifamily. Why I like it is because to me it is like I'm building a community over there. I'm giving a safer place for people to live in, for those who cannot afford to actually, afford a decent housing for themselves, right? So I'm pretty sure that's pretty much how you were looking at it. So let's dive into the hotel thing. What made you get into the hotel side of things?
Yeah, so great. So let me sort of continue my story and tell you what happened and how I transitioned into it. So of course, I failed into flipping houses. But my paradigm in terms of real estate was just residential. I just thought that because nobody had talked to me about commercial, nobody had talked to me about, other aspects of real estate. And so for me, when I first got the license flipping houses, I just thought real estate equals houses because, we bought our own house back then and we were living in a small house. And so got my license. And 2 weeks into sort of my real estate career, got this call from my friend who gave my number to this guy who owned a gas station. Right. A lot of folks from India, as you know, right? Our community is big entrepreneurs and they're in retail businesses, including gas stations, truck stops, and all that. So I get this call from this guy. He said, "Look, I got your number from a friend of mine, mutual friend, and he told me that you have a real estate license. Can you sell my gas station?" And I've been taught in business, you never say no to an opportunity. So when he said, "Can you sell my gas station?" automatically from my mouth I said, "Of course I can sell your gas station." Right? Had the opportunity to meet him that weekend. I met with him and told him that, look, we're very new into this, so I just got my license, which he knew, and that this is not rocket science. It's everything is learnable, and I will learn the business, and I can help you sell it. Because this was a warm lead, this came from a mutual friend of ours. He basically just said, "Look, I'm good with it. Help me sell it. Where do I sign?" Like, I have no idea. I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about anything. I had signed up with Keller Williams because Keller Williams was the number one residential company in San Antonio, right? They did residential real estate. So I went back to my broker and my team lead and said, "Look, I have this opportunity to sell a gas station. What do we do? How do I get this listing?" And she said, "I don't know." I mean, she basically said, "We're a residential company." So she pointed me out to this one lady who was 60, 70 years old, who had done maybe few commercial deals. I met with her that same weekend. She gave me 2 hours and she told me the paperwork to use to get the listing. Long story short, I got the listing. 3, 4 months later, I was able to put it under contract. And that's how I entered the commercial real estate field. Not by design, but just by being at the right place at the right time and just asking and being curious and asking the right questions. And so now I am marketing a property in a residential company, which is a gas station, and people are asking me all sorts of questions, and I'm just trying to figure things out, right? I'm trying to just put things together, and I was able to sell the property, and then from that 6 months later, I started getting gas station leads. People in our community started calling us and calling me and saying, "Look, I have a gas station I want to buy, I want to sell, I have retail." So that's how I entered the commercial real estate field. And so I've been doing this for about 20 years, Sanjay. And for the first 10 years of my sort of real estate brokerage, I was a generalist, mainly focused in retail because I did a lot of gas stations, but we did leasing, we did land, we did industrial, anything that came, I was learning. I didn't really have a niche. I didn't have a tribe. I didn't have any training. And so I was just kind of learning and adapting and seeing what's coming to me and what I'm good at. So for the first 10 years of my life, I did that. And then one day I get this call, and I still remember it. This is back in 2012, in that time period, where this guy called me and said, "Look, a friend of mine gave me your number. I've seen you around. You've been in this business for a while. I own a hotel. Can you sell my hotel?" And guess what I said? Of course, I can
Never
do
let
it.
that thing down.
So anyway, got the opportunity. It was a Days Inn, located in San Antonio. I didn't know anything about hotel. I didn't know anything about franchising. I didn't know anything about anything, and specifically in this asset class, it's a different lingo. It's different metrics in terms of business, right? I mean, I had already known now the gas station world, and we knew the MPDs and the storage tanks and the business around it. I had bought a gas station to lease it out to somebody, right? Because once you get into it, you go deeper into it, you find opportunity. So now I'm here on the hotel side. I got the listing, right? I knew the paperwork now. I knew what paperwork to use to get the listing. And we just started marketing, started understanding, started asking questions. I started meeting with people who own gas stations. And people by design, in my view, are good people, are nice people, right? They're genuine people, people who are willing to help you. And so when I started asking the right questions, And so I started getting the right answers from people. They started teaching me, started making me understand the metrics behind the hospitality business. So I've been in this field for now almost 12 plus years, 14 years doing the hospitality business. We have traded independent hotels all the way up to full service Marriott 300 room hotels. But my sweet spot that I really excel in and I really enjoy is mid-scale and select service. These would be your brands like Comfort Suites, Holiday Inn Express, Marriott, Hilton type properties, or your Wyndham type properties, Choice type properties. Because every single major brand has so many different flags within it, and so that's what I have been doing for the last 10 plus years of my career, and I'm still with the same company with the same office. Keller Williams started a commercial division back 10 plus years ago. I remember, and we have now over 2,000 agents nationwide. And about 3 years ago, when the new leadership came in commercial, they basically revamped the commercial side of brokerage for KW, and they started divisions, and they had different asset classes in those divisions. So your hospitality versus retail, multifamily, and they appointed leaders within that space who could help other agents, work with other agents. And so I was appointed as the hospitality lead for commercial for KW Commercial.
Oh,
And so
nice.
yeah, I've been very fortunate enough to work with our folks across the country, Canada, Mexico, other countries. We're in 55 different countries, but our concentration, at least for my business, is mainly North America. And so
Hmm.
we work with lots of different agents across the country. I do deep dives in teaching them the hospitality business, what to look for, what to do. The lingo is different, the math is different, the way we underwrite is different. And then I end up working with a lot of agents across the country, either it's Florida or California or anywhere where we are listing properties and buying and selling properties for our clients.
Lovely. So, yeah, you said underwriting is going to be different. So, we'll dive into that a little bit later. But tell us a little bit about what made you come up with Spur Equity and, how did that start?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. So, we're fiduciaries. As a broker, I'm a fiduciary to my clients, my buyers and my sellers, right? We work for them. We take care of their interest, whatever their interest is. The byproduct for us is what we take home, which is our commission, right? This is how I feed my family and I take money home. But, we are aligned with whatever my buyers and sellers want to do. So Keller Williams is an entrepreneur company. Mr. Joe Williams, I remember I listened to him about 15 years ago. He came to San Antonio, and one thing that he basically was teaching all the agents, which I got out of it, is that yes, we're fiduciaries to our buyers and sellers, but we are also fiduciaries to our families, to our capital, to our kids, to our network and our net worth. And so basically, what he said is that, which I remember him, and I give credit to him, is that, while you're doing deals for others, start looking at doing deals for yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing that commission every single time until you retire, right? You have the ability, you have the knowledge, you have the network to now also do deals for yourselves. And so that was always in my background. And, we had bought a similar story, probably, got into single family, have some rentals, and then got into some other properties. And so, I had a small portfolio, very small, but I had a small portfolio myself. And a cousin of mine who is in San Antonio also had an independent, his own portfolio, similar single family. I had a gas station, I had a retail center, he had other investments. So we strategically sat together and said, look, individually we're spending our time investing. Why don't we concentrate and focus and combine our portfolio together and work together as a team and then grow that portfolio? Ultimately, we're doing it for our families. And so this is what happened back in 2018. And so in 2018, we started looking at sort of combining our portfolio together and then going out there and buying some properties. And the vision really was that, hey, dude, one day if we have 20 properties of our own or 50 properties of our own, we'll be good, we'll retire. I mean, that was the vision back then, 7, 8 years ago. And so we started by purchasing a 16 unit, fourplexes in San Antonio
Mhm.
after we combined our portfolio together, right? And so we did that. Now I have the foresight into what I do for my as a broker for my clients, where I understand how my clients put their equity together. A lot of times, people are buying individually, and a lot of times people are pooling their capital together and combining their capital together. So in essence, that's what I did, right? With my cousin, we combined our money together, and we went and we bought this 16 unit property.
Correct.
We manage it ourselves. We were there at 2 a.m. in the night, making sure that the toilets are working. The triple T's, right? The tenants, toilets, and trash. I mean, we were doing the work that was needed, and we were managing it ourselves because we wanted to learn the process. And
Sure.
during that process, we also learned that we don't really like it as much, right? There's a lot of work.
Exactly.
Yeah, and but the aha moment for us was a year and a half into this deal, we sold that same property and we doubled our equity. Okay. So that was a light bulb moment from us that, whatever money I put out of my pocket as my investment money, everything else was bank's money, right? I now have double that money. Simple in simple terms, right? That's what happened. And
Yeah.
so like, okay, this is cool. Year and a half later, we have doubled our capital. What do we do with it? Do we go buy another car or buy something else? We're like, no, let's turn 1031 and go buy something else. So with the same amount of now equity that we had, we were able to get into a 50 door property, a 50 unit property without
Nice.
putting any more money from our pocket because we had that capital that was available. And so we just 1031 into it. But and when we were doing that, we were just loading, and now we're able to hire a management company who's able to manage that. This property was maybe hour and a half away from our house, so it wasn't something that we were going to do it every single day ourselves. So that's what happened. We did that, and we managed that property, and we were able to sell that, and realize the same thing happened again. But during that process, our friends and family started calling us, right? And this is the natural progression where they're like, look, we see you guys doing this. You guys are really killing what you're doing. How do we get involved? So we really had to figure out, we could say either say no, it's just my money, I want to keep my money, or okay, let's figure out a way where we can all sort of work together. And that's where the syndication process was sort of formed, right? We
Got it.
started looking into raising capital from friends and family, and we did our first deal, and we raised $300,000 in that, and that this is how we sort of entered into the multifamily syndication world back in 2019.
Oh, lovely. So, since then, how many doors do you have in single family?
So with our multifamily, single family type portfolio that we have, we are involved and we're invested in over 3,300 some plus doors.
So, lovely.
Um, yes, yeah, and we're very fortunate to have had this success. But it is, as we all call it, it is a team sport. It is not
Absolutely.
something, gone are the days where I would say I own 100% of everything,
Right.
because then you also own 100% of the risk that comes with it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's come down to the underwriting part of the hospitality business versus the multifamily. What are the things that you look at? Like, how are they different?
Well, so very, very good question. You know, a property is a property, right? You're buying a multifamily property, 100 units. You're buying hospitality property, 100 units, right? So from a standpoint of real estate, it's a big real estate. It's a big real estate play. And so the way it differentiates is the way you do the business in it and the way you underwrite that property itself. Multifamily properties are driven based on the value that you create, especially if you're in that B, C type space where you're going to go in and there's going to be rent bumps, there's going to be some renovation, but you're locked into a 12-month lease. And so from that standpoint, you also have really good leverage. You also have really good lending because lenders look at that as a very safe space. Hospitality, on the other hand, I feel is more robust, right? I feel like in hospitality, you can have more higher cash flow and the potential of that. And the reason for that is because you're not locked into a 1 year lease. You're not locked into a 12-month lease. You're generally locked into an a 1 day or a 2 day, depending upon how a customer comes in, they check into a room, and so they give you something called an ADR, average daily rate, and that average daily rate could be fixed rate based on market. But when the market changes and when there's demand generators that are happening and when there's events happening in the same area in the same town, that ADR could grow by two, three, four times that. And so a property that is charging $50, $100 ADR, and if there's a ball game happening or if there's an event happening in your backyard, same room, they could charge two, three, $400 for that room, right? Because there's only limited supply that you have in a given area at that point. So I feel like you have a big potential, huge potential in the hospitality world for high cash flow in terms of that property itself. And so that's one of the major things I believe. And there's other things that we can get into, but for me, the biggest point of difference is the fact that, and there's of course then there's risk involved with it, right? And that's where the high risk, high reward scenario comes in, because the risk really is that uh, because you don't have a 12-month lease that you're locked into, what if something happens? What if another COVID happens? What if the market happens the way the market is right now? People aren't traveling. Canada is not traveling. Europe is not coming to the US, right? And so when less travel happens, the occupancy kind of goes down a little bit, right? So we're sort of at this influx where the occupancy has kind of gone down in some of the properties. But when it happens, it's like right after COVID, the revenge travel happened. People wanted to travel, that they wanted to go all over the US. And so then it goes back up like this again. But because of that not stable asset class, the lenders try to look at that as saying, well, we're not going to give you the best capital that's out there, the best money that's out there. And so, you have to play with that. But ultimately, I think the reward is the high cash flow reward that you can get into.
Got it. So, but in a situation where the occupancy rate has dropped dramatically, you don't have to worry about delinquencies because nobody worries about that part of it, like you would have in the multifamily. But
Yeah.
occupancy is a big thing for you. So, in a time when the occupancy is low and there is no cash flow coming in, how does that work with the investors? What do you have to have a different mindset of investors who invest in a hospitality business versus that in a multifamily?
Sure. So I think at a given time, you have to look at the segment that you're in the hospitality world. You can be into a segment where you are in an extended stay property. Extended stay property is just like a multifamily property. You have kitchenettes in there. People are staying for a week, a month, 6 months, a year. Just it really depends, right? And then the type of customer that's coming in. Is it a transient customer or is it a business customer? Now, after COVID, business has started moving, right? People started coming back to office again, and companies are starting to travel more again. And so, as that is happening, we are not just relying on one customer base, we're relying on so many different segments of customer base. So, occupancy, in my opinion, unless another COVID happens and travel goes down to pretty much zero, we're not going to see occupancy dip a whole lot. It will go down based on, like, for instance, I'll give you an idea. Right now, I would assume that, based on what's happening in the country, people are traveling less. People are spending a little bit less more money because of inflation and because pricing doubling, and maybe they're going out and eating less. I was at the restaurant 2 days ago during a peak lunchtime. It's one of the best restaurants in San Antonio. Generally, there's a line out there. 2 days ago, I was sitting there with a client of mine, and there was 7 or 8 tables that were full. That's it, right? People are pinned, I mean, people are looking at their cash flow, the internal cash flow. And so, but because of different demand drivers that are out there, San Antonio's, if you call it citywide, occupancy is about 55, 58%, right? If you look at US overall as an average, maybe 62, 63%. And so, whereas if you look at peak performance time frames when people are traveling, occupancies might be 65, 68% average. That doesn't mean your hotel can't have 100% occupancy, obviously. Depends upon the submarket you're in and depends upon the flag that you're in. But in general, we're maybe down by 10 basis points in terms of occupancy itself. But still, people are making, right? But the issue that's happening right now in the country on the hospitality side, which even in multifamily, is that your insurance keeps on going high, your property tax keeps on going high, and then your wages, right? Your people, it's the people business that you're in.
Yeah.
The payroll keeps on going high, and so even though the ADR might be going higher, but the expenses are even going higher. So your NOI is getting actually lower. Doesn't matter if it's the economy or not. It's just the what's going on in the market right now. So the time right now is survival. And during this time, we're just guiding our clients that if you can survive, survive, because tomorrow you will thrive. Because it's a pendulum shift that's happening, right? If the interest rate starts coming down, and as soon as that starts happening, the confidence starts picking back up again. And if the tariffs are over and the new normal sort of sets, and people know what that is, people will start moving in. People forget a lot of this stuff, right? And so we thrive on this stuff. And as that new normal happens, and it could take 6 months, it could take a year, but there's always an opportunity, Sanjay, right? As a broker, I tell people there's not a bad market. It's not a good market or a bad market. The market is what the market is. It's either a buyer's market or a seller's market, right? And so,
Absolutely.
so now we're talking to a lot of buyers, and sellers want to sell, and now the gap's coming down and narrowing a little bit, where the sellers are actually listening, and we're persuading buyers and telling buyers it is the time to look at and making some deals right now, because this is the time you're going to actually make money once you buy the property.
Awesome. Now, so you have so much, you have a wealth of knowledge, Rav Singh, when it comes down to both the hospitality side of things and, the multifamily side of things, as well as, how you started off with the syndication side of things as well. So, is this where the Singh Commercial Group was formed more to educate your investors as well as to educate those who want to get into this industry, like the hospitality industry, but are scared as to because they don't have the know-how? Is that what it was, or
So Sync Commercial is on the brokerage side, and
got
so as being a broker, I love, of course, we want to buy and sell properties for our clients. That's our fiduciary responsibility. But I love putting webinars together, bringing subject matter experts, and really diving deep into the hospitality business, because that's what I do. And so we will bring in different folks who are talking about different aspects of the hospitality business. So if anybody new who wants to learn the business, who wants to start the business, of course, they can either invest with us on the Spur Equity side, which is our investment company, or if they want to buy their own property and not come in as a LP syndicate, on the syndication side, then they can look into how to buy a small property, what are the pros and cons. And so I work directly with the buyers and with the sellers in educating that. So Sync Commercial is the education slash brokerage platform, and Spur Equity is our syndication fund management platform.
Nice. So, well, this is great that you're giving people these different opportunities, and having that understanding about hospitality versus, because I've seen a lot of people invest as investors in hospitality, and I've always like, why are they doing that? I understand that there is high risk, high rewards, but given the situation where the economy is, like, would they like to be more on the safer side? That's why I asked you that question. Do they need to have a separate mindset when they're investing in a hospitality business versus that of a multifamily? Because
Yeah.
one is safer, one is a little bit more riskier.
Yeah, no, and those are considerations. Those are good considerations. Everybody has to do that homework and understand the risk and reward scenario of it. But it all comes back to the team. It all goes back to the team itself. Um, you and I probably see hundreds of opportunities in a month, and
Absolutely.
and people want to get us involved and raise capital for them. because we may have the ability, we may have the network to do that, right? But that does not mean we're going to get with everybody and be partners with everybody and invest with everybody and raise capital for everybody, right? We're going to
Correct.
raise with the team that we know, we like, we trust. And so for us,
So
our golden rules in Spur Equity, we have three golden rules, right? When we're looking at a property, we absolutely have to know the team. That's number one. We need to know their track record. We need to know, and this is if I'm being pitched, if it's a developer doing ground up, which we have invested with, or if it's somebody who's going to buy this property and then manage the property and do all the work on the multifamily or on the hospitality side. Team is number one for me, and then second for me is the market that they're investing in. What is that market? Is the market going up or down? All the metrics that we look at, in our business. And then, of course, the third is the business plan. What is the business plan? Is the business plan where we're going to cash flow right away? Or this is an opportunity where we're buying something and we're fixing something. So maybe for the first year or two, there's no cash flow coming in. But we know then when the market turns and when our property comes from renovation, we are going to project XYZ, right? And so as long as we have those three in mind in terms of the team, the market, and the business plan, then we dive into it a little bit more further and look at it and do our own homework at that point. So yes, it is risky, but risk is everywhere. And so you have to be okay with that as long as you know what the reward and what the outcome could be. But for us, the team is number one. And so for me, when we bought these two hotels this year and last year, we the reason we got into this is because that management company who we invested with, who are our partners in this deal, I know their track record. I know where they come from. I've sold properties to them. They're my past clients, so I have some knowledge of how they operate. Right? I felt comfortable for me to put my money into it, and so I think people have to make their decisions, but they're ultimately they are investing in the team. They're investing in that, not one person. They're investing in that concept and the team who's going to take it to the next level.
awesome. Now, so those who want to know more about you and more information about whether it is with your investment group, which is a Spur Equity, or about the Sing Commercial Group, so that they could go listen to your webinars or even get on a podcast with you. How can they reach you?
Sure. Thank you. So if people want to buy and sell hotels or learn about the hospitality business because one day they want to purchase something for their family, singcommercialgroup.com. So it's SINGH, that's my last name, commercialgroup.com. But if folks are busy and they would like diversification and they want to look at some of the projects that we're involved in, including multifamily ground up, as well as now we're doing land development and other things. And the reason, Sanjay, I didn't get into the hospitality business on the investment side is because I didn't really want to compete with my clients on the brokerage side. And so we were consciously not looking at any hotel projects because I felt I was sort of in the middle, right? And I didn't want to choose one or the other side, especially my own money, my own equity, when my fiduciaries to my buyers and sellers. Until this two projects that we just purchased were brought from a client of mine and they wanted us to get involved in it, and so then we looked at it and made that decision, and we bought two Marriotts and those Marriotts got overfunded, just like that, just because, once again, it's because of the team itself, right? It's because of the track record of the team itself. So if people want to look at investing passively, then they can go to spurequity.com. It's SPUR equity.com, and that's where they can see our track record, what we have done, what we own, those projects. And we're on social media, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, every place.
Lovely. Now, thank you, Rav Singh. I really appreciate you getting on the podcast and educating us and the listeners about, Spur Equity as well as Sing Commercial. And as it was wonderful listening to your journey from how you started off, and you started off with something. The best part I learned from you is when the opportunity knocks, don't say no to it. Just take it and run with it.
That's
It
right.
was interesting to see that you. It was more to do. It was nothing to do with commercial real estate, but one gas station thing changed
Everything.
everything for you.
Changes
So
everything.
sometimes in life, you don't know what is that next step that you're going to take.
All right.
And if you don't let fear of failure affect you, it can change your life forever, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, consciously, sometimes your subconscious makes decisions for you that you will never know, but it's going to lead you to the right direction. And so I often tell my kids that you cannot lead your life by just living in a box, that this is who you are, this is what you are, this is always what you're going to be, right? Because life happens. When life happens, you learn different experiences from different people, from different countries. And so you need to bring a lot of those good into your life. And so when you feel an opportunity comes, explore, right? Explore that opportunity. And I just go head first, and good or bad, this is who we are, and this is how we are taught. And majority of the time it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. And luckily for me, this time it worked.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Rav Singh. I really appreciate you taking your time. I'm pretty sure everybody who's going to be listening to it will get to see what 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 courage can do for you, and trusting yourself, believing in yourself can do for you. And obviously, partnering with people, as you said, if you I'm a firm believer where it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a group. So I
Mhm.
think, as a team, and I think that's exactly what you did. Partnering with your cousin was definitely a good thing for you, and then bringing in the community itself to
Right.
come in and pitch in, that definitely helped as well. So, thank you so very much for sharing the wisdom, as well as, golden nuggets out there that that you experienced and shared it with us. Thank you very
Good. All
much.
right. Thank you, Sajid. Thank you for having me. And I hope that, if nothing else, people get some inspiration to do this on their own, or, it's about learning. It's about the nuggets that you get in life. And so for us, it's about connections and making sure that, we are connected with people as a whole. And so I hope, you guys got something out of it. And if there's any questions, there's anything you guys have, reach out. I'm an open book. I don't feel threatened by competition or anything like that. If we have something, we will share, and we will grow together.
Awesome. Thank you so very much.